Welcome to Up to the Minute. It's Wednesday, March the 24th. Glad to have you with us on the show. I'm Todd Duplantis, and we've got some great guests lined up for you, plus your HCC news and information for the next half hour or so. Make sure you stick around. One person who'll be here the whole time, every Wednesday and Thursday, Brittany Pacheco, joining us from her home studio. Good morning, Brittany.
Hey, good morning, Todd, and good morning to everyone else joining us this morning for our Wednesday edition of Up to the Minute. We're so happy that you took the time out of your busy morning to join us. But before we get into today's show, I do want to remind everyone just to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and don't forget to head over to our YouTube channel, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can be the first to find out the latest uploads from us. And last but not least, we do need our audience help. Yes, that's right. I'm talking to you to share this podcast so that not only we can grow our audience, but more importantly, just share this information to those who may not be aware that HCC has social media pages and this morning show. So just hit that share button at the bottom, and that's all you got to do.
All right, Brittany, stick around. We'll check in with you in a little while. We've got two special guests today. Filecha Lucas is the manager of career and job placement services here at HCC. In fact, she works out of HCC Central. Good morning to you, Filecha.
Good morning, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're looking forward to hearing about the career and job placement services. We always like to get our students connected with some gainful employment. We'll talk more about that in a little while. Stick around if you would. But twice a month, we have a very special guest. Dr. Christopher Segler is not only a proud HCC grad, he's a foot and ankle surgeon, former HCC student. He's also known as Doc on the Run. He joins us twice a month to talk about fitness and starting out running. Good morning to you, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, Todd. Glad to be here today.
Good to see you. You know, we talked about running about a month ago, about new runners getting out there. The weather's beautiful this time of year in Houston to start running and get that fitness regime. And, you know, some good news came out today. Of course, you know, a lot of runs have been done virtually over the past year with the pandemic, but the Austin Marathon announced that they're going to be doing an actual marathon in person with people there, not just virtual. And the Woodlands Marathon happened not that long ago. So it seems like we may see some runs, actually fun runs, happening in person now.
Yeah, it's about time, right? I mean, a whole year of basically no races for everybody. And I know some of those are finally getting back underway. And a lot of us are trying to kind of get the training back underway to match that schedule as well.
Yeah, you know, the training is one thing, but I noticed when you were around when I first started running, it was a little over 10 years ago. And I got to admit, for 40 some odd years of my life, I didn't run around the block. And my wife's an avid runner. So we would go out to Memorial Park. I started running. And for months, Chris, all of my joints from like my waist down hurt. And they hurt for months. Is this a common occurrence for people who are out there putting stress on your bodies that never really had the type of stress before?
Oh, yeah, it's really, really common. And, you know, it's really, of course, people go to the doctor when they have pain and they think they have problems. And that is really an issue for runners because when you start out, there are a couple of different times you're definitely going to get pain, when you're definitely going to feel uncomfortable, and you have to work through some of that initially. And like you talk about, you know, you have this sort of aches and pains and all that comes from when you begin to run, when your body's becoming accustomed to the muscular workout that it's getting. But in addition, a lot of it has to do with your running form, you know, and the longer you run, the more you run, the more frequently you run, the better your form becomes, and you actually run more efficiently, and your system isn't getting taxed in the same way. So those same sort of weird aches and pains and stiffnesses that you feel initially when you begin running does dissipate over time.
And Chris, so you should expect some discomfort. I always tell myself when I get out there running, you know, give it at least 3 miles before you decide what you're going to do. Are you going to stop at 3 miles or keep going? Because my body has to adjust whether I'm running every day or maybe take a week or two off.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, interestingly, when things are busy, when there's you're trying to do, your kids are on remote learning, and you're trying to work from home, and it in theory should make us have more time since we're not sitting in the car commuting, but you actually have a lot less time because you have all this chaos going on. A lot of times it's hard to just run consistently, and I know that I hear this over and over, and I've experienced the same thing myself. When you take a few days off of running, even if you're a really experienced runner and you've been doing it a long time, just a few days off, you start to get weaker and stiffer, and things kind of lock up a little bit. And for me, if I go 2 or 3 days without a run and then I head out the door for a run, that first 2 miles actually feels pretty bad. Yeah. And this is the problem, is that many people, when they start running, they feel that stiffness and they think they're doing harm to themselves, but it's a part of loosening up. And then you actually do start to feel a lot better at 2 or 3 miles in. So I think that rule of trying to give yourself, 2 or 3 miles before you even make a judgment on how you actually feel that day is a really good one.
You have a great quote you like to use, and this kind of sums things up for me, because when I did my first Ironman, I had to quit 136 miles into the Ironman and didn't make it the final because I was hurt, but it certainly sticks with you. And that quote is very, very pertinent. Maybe you can tell us about the Lance Armstrong quote that you have, I like to use.
Yeah. Pain is temporary and quitting lasts forever. And that is true. So, and the problem is also for us as runners, it's, you can quit because you have an injury just a couple of miles from the finish line. But I think what is also equally painful is when you get excited, you hear, okay, well, the Woodlands Marathon just happened. They've declared that they're going to actually put the Austin Marathon on in person and no more of this virtual run business, and you get all fired up and you sign up for an event like that. But then something happens and you don't even start. That's also quitting. And I've done that myself. Yeah. I mean, I was really sick that year, a few years ago, where, the Houston Marathon, it was 30 something degrees and raining at the start. And, and so I was sick already, and I just thought, I'm just going to wind up with pneumonia if I do this. So I just forget it. I'm not even going to do it. And that's quitting. And so I'm sure that, it's probably not as painful as being pulled off the course when you can hear the finish line. Yeah. But it's the same thing, because as soon as you sign up, you've basically started the event, and you need to train and you need to get ready. And if you bail on the whole experience anywhere along that thing, I think it's really hard to shake that. And let's go back to the soreness, because it's a reoccurring factor, especially from what you're saying with everybody that was running. It's important to understand why the soreness happens, but you can deal with it in a healthy way to prevent you from derailing your training, like knowing if this is just regular body soreness or if it's something I need to stop and take a look at. Yeah. So there are a couple of things to remember. So the first one that you mentioned, you're going to feel a lot of stiffness and soreness in the beginning of your run, and that's expected. That does not mean something's wrong. And particularly if you feel it's sort of all over, that's a good sign. Also, the second time when you're definitely going to feel soreness, when you're getting into training and you're starting a new run routine, or you're ramping up after some time off, is that you're going to get the delayed onset muscle soreness that makes you very sore a couple of days later. And if you do a run, you do a workout, which is a lot more than you're really used to, then it's not just that you're going to feel sore then, you're going to feel tired, but the next day you'll feel a little bit of soreness. And on that day, if you take a complete rest day and you don't go walk, or you don't swim, or you don't ride a bike, if you don't do anything the day after that, 2 days after you've actually done the workout, you're going to have a tremendous amount of soreness. Now, that soreness can often be significant. I mean, it can feel pretty bad. But if you remember that, soreness all over is generally that which you got from the workout, where your tissues are actually rebuilding and becoming stronger, that helps. If you have focal pain that's in one area, that signals a little bit more of a problem, but that's different. But the sort of pain and stiffness all over, if you wake up 2 days later and you start to roll out of bed and you think, oh my gosh, I can barely walk to the coffee pot. Well, that's the delayed onset muscle soreness. That will also remind you that you should probably do some more stuff, some stretching, some other light activity on those days immediately following your run, so you don't build up that much soreness too. Chris, I want to talk to you in a minute about what you're going to tell us about next time, but real quickly at the top, and we always mention that you're a graduate of HCC, and people might be wondering, well, wait a second, this guy's out in San Francisco, he's a podiatrist now, he does concierge doctor. Tell us real quickly a little bit about your journey, because you did graduate from HCC several years ago. Yeah, I did. So I went to HCC, then went on to the University of Houston. From there, went to San Francisco for medical school. Then I did a surgical residency at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City, and then eventually back to San Francisco, where I am now. But, it's HCC is a great way to get started, a great way to, sort of trend into the college experience with a lot of really great benefits, small classes, a lot less expensive tuition, and a great education that certainly carries you through just as effectively into those later years in a four-year institution and then on to graduate school or whatever you choose to pursue.
So you see, folks, if you are a student or watching out there, get your start at HCC and you can move on, eventually call yourself a doctor or earn that degree as a doctor as well. Chris, what are we going to be talking about next time you're on the show?
Yeah. So, it's really important to not quit, but it's also important to not hurt yourself. And so a lot of times it's very difficult to really tell the difference between the things we're talking about the soreness that you feel when you start running, the soreness you feel a couple of days later. But there are some aches and pains that you really should not ignore. And those things can lead you into trouble. So we'll certainly talk about that next time, about some of these aches and pains that you really have to pay attention to and you really shouldn't ignore when you continue to ramp up your training for that next marathon.
He's Dr. Christopher Segler. He's known as the Doc on the Run. If you'd like to get a hold of him and learn more about him, we'll put a link to his social media and also his website in the social media post for the show. Chris, thanks for being here. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
All right, Todd. Thanks for having me on today.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to Filecha Lucas, and Filecha is the manager of our career and job placement services at HCC Central. Filecha, we've been having a number of guests from your department talking to us about things you guys have going on. It must be very important for our students because during this pandemic, I know that a lot of our students may have had their hours cut or may have lost their job, unfortunately, been laid off. But you guys are here to offer some solutions through your job placement and career services, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. One of the things that we do is not only help students with jobs that they want to get or their desired job for after they graduate, but we have what we call survival jobs as well. So we're talking to employers and making sure that we're knowing who's hiring right now for immediate needs. Most of our career centers, we have 6 career centers across the district. And each career center focuses on a particular center of excellence. So obviously, most of our time is spent developing those relationships with those different centers of excellence. But we also spend time talking to employers about quick part-time jobs. So that information we do have that's available for our students.
So if they're looking for jobs, I guess students might think, well, I've heard of Career Hub. Is it a cost to me? It's free for our students, correct?
Correct. It's one of those things I tell students jokingly when I'm talking to them and we're trying to introduce our services. If you go to Chick-fil-A and they give you the waffle fries and the lemonade, you don't leave it there. It's a part of the package. And that's what Career Services is. It's such a unique service. It's, students interact with us differently than they do with their academic professors and things like that. But we're here from orientation to graduation. So there's so much that they can do and utilize as far as our services to make sure that they're equipped to get in front of the employer.
And you guys had something recently called the TD Industries panel. What was the purpose of that? And tell us all about it.
TD Industries is a large construction company, and if you're here at HCC, you probably have seen the trucks because they're one of our vendors as well, and they do a lot of work in our state. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that, especially in this environment, this virtual environment, that students are staying in front of employers. They understand what employers need and what they want, and that they're hearing directly from employers. And so the TD Industries employer panel was just that. We had executive vice presidents, people over special projects, their multi-family division, remodeling. Every area of TD Industries actually was on this panel. And we invited our construction students as well as faculty to be a part of hearing about the industry, what's happening in construction, how the pandemic is affecting construction, what the future of construction looks like, and then to talk about the jobs and available opportunities that they have for our students.
And you also help students in many ways to prepare for that first interview and getting the jobs. I know your service has gone virtual. Tell us about some of the things you offer to assist students in landing that first big gig.
One thing that's great about career services that we found out, like probably many departments did, how they were going to function in the pandemic, is that our services are very portable. So students are able to still have all of the services they had when they were on site. So we help students, it's a competitive market. Students need to be polished and ready to get in front of an employer. So of course we help them with a resume review. We do mock interviews. We practice. We tell them the more you practice, the better you'll perform in that interview. So we're there for them. We also have one-on-one coaching sessions. Sometimes students just need to work through what their career strategy is. And so just like we're here in this virtual environment, they have virtual coaching sessions with their career coach.
And you also have a career week coming up. I believe it's the first week of April. Maybe you can tell us about that.
Yeah, one of the things we decided to do moving into this second semester virtually is, as the career centers all across the district, we decided to streamline some of our efforts to make sure that they were more impactful for our students. This is our first ever career week prior to a career fair. Now, we've always done workshops and prepared students as individual career centers prior to our individual career fairs. But the career fair that we have coming up is going to be a district-wide virtual career fair with over 63 employers that are already registered. So we have to make sure that with that much effort and that many employers are available to students at that time, that they are prepared. So we have what we call a career week, and we're going to be inviting employers to come in and talk to them about various topics to make sure that they're ready for the career fair and just ready to be in front of an employer. So that will be happening the week prior to our career fair. We're excited about it.
And you've got about 63 employers, you said, registered for this. What type of companies are we talking here? And what type of jobs could students actually wind up with by going to this career fair?
You know, the thing is, what's so great about it is that employers come here, they know where our students are, what type of programs our students are taking in their skill level. And so the jobs range from internship to full-time direct hire positions. So it's a variety of different positions that students can take advantage of depending on where they are, because some of our students are not graduating right now.
Yeah.
And they just need to be employed, and they want to be employed in the field that they're going into. So that's what's so great about having an opportunity to come in even as an intern. Now, the industries vary. All of our COE industries are being represented at our career fair. So that's great. So you have manufacturing, you have construction, you have hospitality. The gamut of all of the ones that we offer are going to be represented at our career fair.
And for these jobs, you mentioned internships. You know, I did an internship many years ago, which eventually led to my first job in TV news. How important is it to get an internship these days?
Internships are extremely important. We try to encourage our students to take advantage of internships, because the thing that you have to realize, or that we tell students, is that when you come in as an internship, you come in under the auspices of them developing you. So the expectation is for them to take you under their wings in a different way than they would if you came in as a direct hire. So we want students to take advantage of getting to know companies, really understanding the jobs that they're saying they're interested in, because you get to really try it out to see if it's a good fit for you. And you get the development, the one-on-one development from those employers when you're coming in as an intern. And you also get the support of your school, because you're still in school. So you have your academic professor working with you, you have career services working with you, and then you have that employer. That is a lot of support. And then it's a great resume enhancer. Even if there's not a job opportunity after that internship, the fact that you've done that for a semester and you've worked in that particular field looks really good when you're standing out and you're competing against other people for particular jobs as you graduate. It looks good on your resume.
I know you guys also present a number of workshops for our students, and I'm looking at some of the titles of them, and I want to focus on a couple of them here. Pivoting during a pandemic, and one of them I think is very important, LinkedIn. Everybody can learn more about LinkedIn.
Exactly. 95% of recruiters are on LinkedIn. It's just a no-brainer. You know, it is the Facebook for work. So if you're serious about your career, even if you're not moving into a new job, you just want to network, LinkedIn is the place to be. And having a really good profile matters. So we talk about how to develop a profile, what that looks like, what you want to add to your profile. How do you network on LinkedIn? Because there is a way to network. So we walk through all those details with students so that they are equipped with at least the very basics to get started. We believe that everyone that graduates from HCC, whether you're going on to transition into a university or going off into the job market, that they should have a LinkedIn page.
And what about pivoting during a pandemic? Are a lot of our students wanting to work virtual right now, and or are they wanting to get out in an actual office setting?
The pivoting, actually the theme or the reason why we decided to do pivoting in a pandemic is because we wanted our students to begin to see their transferable skills as more valuable to them. In particular, we had the hospitality industry that we were working very closely with prior to this pandemic. And obviously they were one of the first and hardest hit industries, from hotel to travel to restaurants. So we had students in that program that had a plan A. and they didn't have a plan B. So we had to talk about, how do you pivot now? How do you take those skills that are portable, they're transferable, and use them in other environments so that you can make sure that when you get out, you are still working. And when the industry picks up again, you can move seamlessly into that industry because you've still been using those skills. So that was the purpose of the pivoting in the pandemic workshop, was to make sure they understood how to look at the job market differently. Then we also brought the counseling department into that workshop as well, because we realized that there is a psychological effect of trying to find a job in a pandemic. Sure. So we had them speak to them on that and how to maneuver through the different stresses and the things that they encounter as they're looking for a job in the pandemic.
Filecha Lucas, of course, you're the manager of career and job placement services at HCC Central. Thanks for being here this morning. If folks are interested in where to find you, we'll put your links and all the information in the social media post for the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We're going to move on to Brittany Pacheco talking about some HCC news and announcements. Of course, Brittany, we've got a lunch and learn that's happening today.
That's right. So navigating the new norm, COVID-19 has had an impact on almost everyone's finances, and this session helps with best practices and strategies to adjust during a pandemic and economic uncertainty. So as Todd mentioned, this lunch and learn is happening today at 11:30, shortly after this broadcast concludes. It's going to be hosted by Daniel Scholl and Janie Wheelwright Griffin, HCC financial coaches. So if you're interested, head over to your HCCS emails to check out for the registration link.
Seniors, especially HISD seniors, we've got a workshop for you, HCC Workforce and Academic Programs. You can learn more all about them with 3 interactive sessions that dive into the admission process, financial aid steps, and much more. You want to get into HCC? Well, we've got all the information. The last transfer fair is happening this Thursday. That's right, tomorrow, March 25th. We'll have a link to register for it in our post. So if you know a Houston ISD senior or their parents, make sure you get them to tune in to learn about getting here to HCC. Brittany, we always have guests talking about the Ideas Pitch Competition, and right now they're accepting pitches.
They are, Todd. So the popular entrepreneurial initiatives competition returns this spring. HCC students can share their creative ideas and innovations for sustainability and societal needs. Individuals or teams can pitch a product or service. Now, entries must be submitted between now through April 30th. And that's just right around the corner, y'all. So don't sit on this. For more information, head over to hccs.edu/pitch.
Building a sense of belonging. Remember to save the dates here. Beginning in April, several gatherings of faculty, staff, and community partners will be centered on the sense of belonging, and connectedness will provide opportunities for conversations and action-oriented approaches to a more inclusive and equitable environment for us all. The first one, let's see, it's happening 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. April 16th. There will also be other sessions on the 23rd and the 30th. They will feature keynote speakers from Baker Ripley and the JED Foundation, in addition to presentations from HCC students, community organization, and HCC Legal Office of OEI, I should say, and the EEOC. So check your emails to register for updates as well, and we'll also have some more information in the post for this show. If you're looking to attend HCC, Brittany, there's still some payment plans and other options available.
That's right. So there is more than one way to pay for college. It says our HCC's financial aid office. You have grants, scholarships, emergency assistance, work study, Eagle Promise, etc. So if you need options to help cover costs for your spring tuition, your books, etc., be sure to check out these options. For assistance choosing the payment plan that works for you, go to finaid.district@hccs.edu. That email will be included in this post after the show.
All right, so we're going to break down what's going on with registration. Keep in mind that summer registration is underway, and we're opening up fall registration on April 12th. So we'll open it up early. We've got several options for you to do some safe learning. Of course, 2 of them online anytime, where you can take your classes online anytime. Just watch them at your convenience. Online on a schedule where you actually log in, you can interact with your professor and also the other students, your classmates, maybe ask some questions. It's called Online on a Schedule. That is available. And then we're also looking at getting students back on campuses for face-to-face instruction, Brittany. But as you know, we haven't done that in a while. We've been putting it off for the safety of everyone. So these classes that they're having, Brittany, are going to be very small.
That's right. So all in-person classes will remain online for the remainder of the spring semester, but summer could be in person under a new name, face-to-face. So the emphasis on the word could, I can't stress that enough. We try to give our students as much information ahead of time as much as possible. But, with COVID, things fluctuate on the daily, obviously. So once again, Flex Campus is going to be under a new name come summer, and we could be welcoming back our students for in-person classes. But those classes, as Todd mentioned, will be much smaller to adhere to social distancing regulations. And also lab-based courses. Select academic and workforce labs will return to campus. However, some will be offered online for the remainder of the semester. So if you're interested to find out more about which program or classes are returning online, check with your instructor to find out what is happening. And as always, we do encourage our students to register for classes ahead of time. We mentioned earlier that summer registration is already underway. Fall classes will be opening very soon on April 12th. Be sure to secure your classes ahead of time by going to hccs.edu/now.
So tomorrow, Brittany, we're going to talk with Dr. Shante Grays, and she's our Vice Chancellor of Student Services. She's going to break down these learning options and maybe explain a little bit more about what we're facing going into the summer and what the intentions are to get the students back on the campuses. So if you have questions, tune in tomorrow's show, and we'll talk to Dr. Grays and get your answers for those questions. In fact, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the social media post for the show. Brittany will write it down and get those questions, present them to Dr. Grays tomorrow morning, live at 10 a.m. So that about wraps up the show for today, Brittany. But speaking, Dr. Grays is going to be here tomorrow, but it's also a Thursday, which means
it's Virtual Family Fun Day, and our guest should be incredibly interesting. It's the Houston Center for Contemporary Craft. Executive Director Perry Price will join us to reveal how contemporary craft can be. That's very cool. I've been in a very crafting mood, since we've been in quarantine. You know, Todd, as everyone should behind me, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So I've actually been crafting my very own Harry Potter ornaments for my Christmas tree. So it's fun.
Well, we know who to go to for the ornaments. Another thing too, I want to mention, it's a little bit off subject, but we talked about this on the show a few weeks ago. We had a guest on discussing the River Oaks Theater, and our film students and really the Houston community very interested in what's going on in that theater. From what I'm understanding, it's not good news, Brittany. They're saying tomorrow will be the last showings at the River Oaks Theater in its current incarnation. From what I understand, the realty company, Weingard Realty, apparently wants to keep the space as is. They're looking for someone to take over a theater. So that's kind of the status there. If you want to go see a movie at River Oaks, tomorrow, unfortunately, is your last day. So get some tickets today or tomorrow. I know we went a couple of weeks ago. We've seen all the movies they have right now. So it's going to be sad to see it go, but I'm hoping, we're really hoping that someone will step up in there and take over the place.
Todd, it's interesting that you mentioned that because one of our faculty members, actually many faculty members aren't just faculty for HCC. They do things on the side as well. And one of our faculty members, who was my English professor, is also a director for her very own theater company. Her name is Jennifer Decker. Her theater company, is called Mildred's Umbrella. They put on some really cool stuff, and that would be so awesome if they could, take the space for River Oaks Theater. I don't know. It'd just be really, really neat.
Yeah, it would be nice to see someone take it over. The good thing is Weingarten Realty said they aren't looking to develop the space. They'd like to keep the space as is. But, you got to wonder if it'll ever be the same. There was talk at one time of Amazon Studios buying out some of the smaller theaters. Maybe that'll happen. Who knows? They could certainly reinvigorate the place. You hate to see it go to a big organization. But then again, that if that's what happens for it to survive, that's just what happens. So we don't know what's going to happen to River Oaks Theater, but if you want to go see it, folks, make sure you get there today or tomorrow. So that about wraps up today's show. Brittany, no appearance from Luna today.
She's actually being a very good girl. She is hiding underneath my desk, taking a nap.
Okay, so. That's where both of my dogs are, actually. Right.
Maybe she'll make an appearance tomorrow. We'll see.
Maybe tomorrow. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, Brittany, thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yep, and thanks for everyone joining us this morning for this edition of Up to the Minute. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m.